Hello?
All right. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, hang on. It's trying to not play through my headphones again. I got to disconnect them and reconnect them or something. It's being stupid. A second here to.
All right. And I'm going to send you the link to YouTube now. Just to let you know, I went ahead and I went live. So we have just gone live. I am hearing your audio fine. And
no, that's because I'm trying. Okay, I can hear it now. Perfect. How's the angle looking? Because for some reason I'm not seeing my own feed here.
Your angle looks great.
Perfect. Send me that link real quick just so I can post it. Let me take down my phone actually.
Okay.
We're not live yet, right? We're still backstage.
No, we just went live. It automatic counted us down. So we've been live for 13 seconds, and I just sent you the link to your Facebook.
Awesome. Let me send this out real quick. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. I think we're ready to begin.
Hey, no problem, man. I appreciate you giving me your time this evening.
Of course.
All right, so if you're ready, we can go ahead and get started.
Hang on, I'm trying to adjust my camera here. Give me 2 seconds. All right, I think that's good. All right.
All right, so if you're ready, we'll go ahead and begin now. My name is Steven. I run Proverbs Guys Ministries. We're a Christian Young Earth Creation Ministry. Obviously, being tied to Young Earth Creationism, I'm aware of who Steven Anderson is. You are one of his children, correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm his second oldest son, Isaac.
You're the second oldest. All right. How many of the siblings are there total?
There are 12 total, 7 boys, 5 girls. 8 still live at home.
Were you guys always homeschooled?
Yes. None of us have ever been public schooled or private schooled, just homeschooled.
Okay. I'm also from a homeschooling family. I'm the middle of 7, so I kind of relate, but you guys have us way outnumbered. So I thought
honestly, man, once it's past like 6 kids, I didn't notice a difference. Like 7 kids, 9 kids, 12 kids, you stop noticing at some point.
Absolutely.
Like it didn't change the dynamic much after they had like 6 kids to 12. I didn't notice anything.
Yeah. Well, all right. So what is that like, man? Like, what is the day-to-day life of being in the Anderson family? What is that like?
I mean, so we got up usually pretty early, probably between 6 and 7 a.m. We had chores, breakfast, a lot of chores. Then we do our school. We did a lot of chores every day because usually the older kids, at least when I lived at home, it was basically like me, Solomon, John, and then when I was getting closer to moving out, Miriam and Rebecca helped out more with chores too, but we did the bulk of the chores. We were doing a lot of laundry, dishes, cleaning, taking care of little kids, because obviously little kids don't take care of themselves. So a lot of that kind of stuff. Our main recreation was just playing outside or reading books. Like I did not see a movie for the first time until I was probably 13 years old or so, 12 or 13.
Wow. And that was common for all of you and the siblings?
Well, yes and no. We got into movies introduced when I was 13. So John saw his first movie at 11. Miriam would have seen it at 9 and so on, younger and younger. So obviously the other kids didn't wait till they were 13 to see movies. That's just when they got introduced to all of us.
Okay, so is that just the age where you guys were old enough to kind of experience movies at your friend's house, or did it come a certain point where your dad just sort of relented a little bit and let you guys, see movies?
I never watched a movie at a friend's house before. Well, it just wasn't something that we did. We weren't allowed to do that. We were not allowed to go to other kids' houses and hang out for fear of molestation mainly. So never sleepovers, never anything like that. We didn't go to other kids' houses.
Yeah.
I know a couple times we spent a few times with Solomon's girlfriend's family, a couple times, but we didn't watch movies with them. So, and then as far as why we were allowed to, I think they just started letting up on it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't remember why. It just happened. The first time I ever went to a movie theater was to see After the Tribulation when my dad put it in theaters. That was the first time I had ever been to a movie theater in my life. which that would
Yeah.
have been in 2012. So I would have been a little younger then, but then I think in 2016 was the first time I actually saw a movie.
Did you guys have friends outside of your immediate church community, or growing up were your friends always sort of strong followers, families of followers of your dad?
Neither. They didn't have any kids at the church that were even close to my age until I was like 12. Um, and then the first kid that they had that like I was actually hanging out with at church, I was 12 and he was probably like 8 or 9. So but I mean, he was somebody to hang out with. So no, and we didn't really have a lot of kids in our neighborhood. We had like this one kid who lived across the street from us, but we didn't really like him that much. He's kind of weird, and he ended up moving anyway. So, my parents tried to put us in like homeschool groups and stuff, but if you ever talk to homeschoolers, they're real weird. They all talk the same for some reason. They have that homeschooler speech impediment.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fortunately didn't catch it, but it seemed like everybody else had it.
Yeah.
So
Eh,
no, I did not have any friends growing up, not really. Besides, I guess when I was older, we talked to kids at church, but we weren't allowed to like go out and hang out with church people. The only way to hang out with your friends at church might be to go soul winning with them.
Now, when you were a kid going through that type of environment, did you see it as over restrictive, or did you just think you had parents that were, up and tight?
I thought it was normal. I didn't know any better. Like to me, it was just, oh yeah, that's just how it is. Like I didn't feel overly restricted because I didn't know any better. Obviously, in hindsight, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that because my dad was a third generation Marine and he
Hmm.
was a little tough on us too. I know you can relate. And sometimes, he went over the line. And even now, after he's been passed away several years from
Hmm.
COVID, even today, it's sort of hard to figure out like, okay, what was harsh parenting and what was borderline child abuse and what was plain out
Hmm.
child abuse. Do you kind of have those mental battles too?
No, it's very obvious that what happened wasn't even slightly close to acceptable or reasonable. Like I can understand if your kid mouths off and you slap them or something in a fit of anger. It was no, it was they were just so far off the reservation. There's no excuses you can make for it. I know his retarded fans won't stop making excuses for him and oh, you're just a wimp who can't handle getting spanked or something. And they're just stupid. I don't even want to keep arguing with them. They're stupid. And now they've already Faithful Word Baptist is already publishing on their public Facebook page that, well, the Bible's actually pretty quiet on spousal punishment. No, it's not. And it's not spousal punishment, it's felony domestic abuse, I think is the actual word for it. That's the actual term. And I love how they ignore the Bible. I want to ask that faggot Jonathan Shelley, what is it? Why he says it's not really a big deal. Hey, coward, he's a spineless wimp who won't condemn it. And I want to ask him this: doesn't the Bible say that we're supposed to obey the laws of the land? Whenever possible. It's illegal, you scumbag. That guy is a spineless wimp, and of course, I mean, he's just a complete loser. He has zero integrity, no backbone. He needs to quit sitting on the fence and decide if he's on the side of right or wrong. And he's casting his lot in with child abusers. He needs to throw Jonah over off the boat pretty quick, or go down with him. My dad,
Hmm.
they love to keep comparing Bible characters. Yeah, my dad's Jonah. They need to throw his ass overboard.
A lot of them are. I don't know how well you know Matt Powell, but even Matt Powell has recently renounced your dad.
I knew Matt Powell. I haven't seen him in several years. I know him and my dad had some sort of falling out. I'm not sure over what though. I know my mom particularly hated his wife. I don't know why. She hated
I
his wife Frances.
Yeah, France. Okay, yeah. Well, I know part of the reason he may have fallen out with him was because he went to live with Kent Hovind at Dinosaur Adventureland, where that's actually where I was introduced to Matt Powell for the first time. And your dad hates Kent Hovind.
I am slightly disappointed to hear that because I'm not a humongous fan of Kent Hovind. He seems a little out there these days. I'm not a big fan of him. I am disappointed to hear that Matt Powell lives on his weird compound or whatever. I hope he's still not living there.
Actually, Matt
But
Matt went moved away back home several years ago. He's doing like traveling evangelism now. So Matt Powell's ministry is
oh, well,
doing pretty
good.
good.
Well, either I haven't really seen what he's been up to. I hadn't even heard about him in years. And then I know him and my dad had a falling out. And then obviously I saw his YouTube video and I was glad to see that he was supporting us. And obviously I've had a bunch of people reaching out. I got even Tyler Baker was like messaging me and stuff. Everybody my dad's ever pissed off is messaging me now. So yeah, it's kind of neat actually.
if you don't
I'm not
mind,
sure if all of them have the best intentions, but if
oh,
someone
I'm
sends me a
sure.
nice message, I thank them for it. I don't really care who it is. But like my dad had some lady he kicked out of church like probably 15 years ago who's messaging me with support.
That's pretty sad. Sad on his side, but good for you, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've seen like some of the defenses that they're coming out with. It
Mhm.
seems like they're trying to go with well, of course they're going to push towards you guys are not being totally honest. And now it's kind of funny because it looks like your dad has taken the position that he and your mom are more or less into BDSM, and that's where some of the
Yeah.
confusion came from. But
No,
I just
there
can't
was no confusion. There
dude,
was no confusion.
your dad is too tight laced. I can't
No,
picture
no,
him
no.
into anything weird.
For the record, they are into that crap. I don't really want to talk about it because it's weird. I don't know if you saw my brother John's video. John gets into it. They are into that, and we would hear them doing that too. It was two very separate things, and we knew because my dad's trying to play it off like we were stupid little kids who just overheard some noises and got confused. Oh, dad's hurting mom, like we're stupid or something.
Yeah.
He's trying to play us off as just fools, and honestly, he's a complete idiot for even suggesting that because all he's doing is asking us to just talk about it more. But no, we knew what was happening. And his stupid excuse, I remember when he came up with that excuse. He came up with it when I was chewing him out just earlier this year, telling him that he's a deadbeat wife beater or whatever. And then he goes, "Oh, it was actually just a sex thing." He didn't bring that up years ago when I was also confronting him about these things. That wasn't a thing. Back then it was excuses of, well, it's my wife, I'm the head of my household. He didn't clear up the confusion that, oh no, that's just how we get down or whatever. Which I'm sure that's how he also gets down. Because like I remember as a child finding, a single ping pong paddle and we didn't own a table tennis set, you know.
Yeah.
Which at the time I didn't
Understandable.
realize that.
I mean, you kind of figured out as a kid, like I said, I'm one of 7, so we figured out that my parents were into that extracurricular activity at a young age. And you guys, being 12 strong, you probably figured it out even, sooner.
I might add too, we lived in a 3-bedroom house. We could hear them at night. More
12
often.
kids in a 3-bedroom house?
I'm sorry, not 12. It would have been they moved out of that house in 2020. I'm sorry. It would have either been 10 or 11. I think 11, barely 11, because they moved out towards the end of 2020. So depending on how old Eva is, they may or may not have either 10 or 11 kids living in the house because Oliver's only like 2 something. So he would not have been living there. They got their new house at the end of 2021. Sorry, end of 2020, right before 2021. I don't remember the exact timeline, but.
All right. So when it comes to how your parents parent, especially in the atheist community, they're pretty much pinning it on this is how all religious people punish their kids. They're pretty much making it a problem that's in the church. Is that how you see it? Or do you think your dad is just a special case? Is your dad just angry?
My dad is a special case. So that's exactly why my dad shouldn't be pastor, because he's literally giving atheists on Reddit are talking crap about this is what fundamental Christians look like, or they're blaming it on Republicans, even though my dad hasn't voted in like 12 years or something. I think the last time he voted was in 2012. So they're blaming it on Republicans. He doesn't even vote. So he's not a Republican or a Democrat. They're blaming it on Christians. They're blaming it on fundamentalism. They're blaming it on religion in general. Well, that's stupid. Unless you're a Muslim, no religion condones beating women. I think Islam is the only one that I know of that just openly says, yeah, you can beat your women. The Bible says no such thing. I think my dad must be like reading the NIV like on the side or something, because it says to treat your wife like your own flesh, but the NIV says that I beat my body and make it my slave. So I think my dad's he might have been like dabbling in those false versions, like he's like reading them on the side or something and getting the wrong idea, because nothing in the KJV condones this. Quite the contrary.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But
and okay. And he's such a huge figure in the independent fundamental Baptist community. Like, how does he? And he's such a stickler for doctrine. How does he then reconcile making doctrine that's not found in the King James Bible?
I don't know. He's a fraud. I don't know what to tell you. Like, he teaches things that aren't in the Bible. He's a hypocrite. And I might add, from the pulpit, if you listen to his old sermons on having on marriage and spanking, he makes it very clear what he thinks is and isn't an appropriate level of punishment for kids. By his own sermons, he has abused his children. Horribly so. Now, more recently, he's moved the goalpost to as long as I don't break their bones. Like, wow, dude, that's great. I mean, you can also waterboard people without breaking their bones. Waterboarding doesn't really do any physical damage at all. But I mean, or are we going to say waterboarding? You know, they didn't waterboard us, to be fair, but waterboarding is still abuse, even if it doesn't break bones, right? There are plenty of ways you can torture and abuse people without breaking their bones. And I might add, John's broken multiple bones and says it hurts less than the cord. I've never broken insignificantly, but I've broken fingers and toes, and it's nothing compared to that. Like getting your finger broken is not that bad. Same with toes. So yeah.
All right. If you look across YouTube, at least in the Christian communities, there's basically two groups. There's the group that we'll call like, your dad's faithful supporters, and they swear that he's still a saint. The other group swears that your dad works for Satan. You know, what's the truth? Does your dad have good qualities? Can he be a decent guy?
So he can be. And when he's not absolutely losing it, he is a fun guy to hang out with. Like, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have fun hanging out with him. Like, when he's not freaking out or going bananas, he is a fun guy to hang with. He's funny most of the time. He's cool. Like, you can have a good time with him. And that's why people are so shocked. Like, oh, I knew Pastor Anderson. He's not like this. Because obviously it'd be a lot easier if he was just always a raving, horrible lunatic who's never done anything good for anybody. But the fact is, he has been a positive influence on the lives of thousands of people, right? He has plenty of fun times people have had with him. So, like, it's not as simple as just, oh, this guy's a horrible, wicked degenerate who's going to burn in hell. I think he's saved. I don't think he's unsaved. I think he's kind of having a King Saul moment here where he's, I think since they just love to keep comparing to Bible characters, I'd say he's more like a King Saul. So.
Okay. Well, honest. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing people online saying he's like satanic. My mom's a literal witch or whatever. I'm seeing some stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's a little excessive, guys. I've been reading he's a Jesuit actually, and no, there are plenty of things you can criticize him for. He's not a Jesuit. He's not a Satanist or any of the other fun things I'm reading.
All right. So you would say, though, he is a normal guy. He has good qualities, but he definitely has maybe an anger issue.
Definitely an anger issue. Yes. He needs to just learn how to. Sorry.
Do you think your dad should step down, and do you think your dad will step down?
He absolutely should. I mean, he's not qualified. So if he's not qualified, he's supposed to step down. I think he has permanently disqualified himself because even if he stopped being a bad husband and father, he cannot be the leader of a church with this on his record now. He's not blameless anymore because people are using this to demonize Christianity, in particular Baptists. That's a fact. Well, this will be used by the enemies of God, unfortunately.
This does disqualify him under the category of, kind of more or less not having his house in order. But personally, I kind of
also blameless. Come on.
I kind of felt your dad, was disqualified years ago, though, because he's sort of a railer. And also, he doesn't seem to be big on preaching grace. Like, I've seen a lot of angry sermons. Do you think that's
fair? It doesn't sell. It doesn't sell. He's getting up and talking about positive things. That's what every other preacher does. My dad has been extremely popular, or at least well known, I should say, because it's compelling. He's extremely intense. He's loud. He's very dramatic and stuff. Like when he's wearing like a bathrobe and he has like a tinfoil miter on his head and he's using a toilet brush to sling water in the people in the crowd. He's making fun of the Pope. Now, obviously, I'm not a Catholic. Making fun of the Pope's great, right?
It's funny. Yeah.
But the problem is, that's what's drawing him in. He's wearing a bathrobe and he has a literal toilet brush that he bought and he's dipping it in water and hurling water on the crowd with his toilet brush. Obviously, that's theatrics. It's over the top, and maybe it's not necessarily bad, but that's what he does, and that's he's kind of attracting the wrong crowd. He's attracting a crowd of people who are there to be entertained. It's like the people who are following Jesus, but only to be fed.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So so his church members ate of the loaves and were filled. When they're because he is, and that's the thing too. He is kind of a bully with that kind of stuff. Because basically, anybody doesn't like. Have you seen his Facebook recently? I think he's deactivating because he's going into hiding now. He's crawling back into his basement. But on his Facebook, all he's doing is posting stupid memes, just making fun of this. Like all he's doing is posting memes, making fun of it. Like great response, dude. Like why don't you actually confront the allegations head on instead of saying, oh, don't talk to them. They talk to the tranny, or oh, don't do this or don't do that. And they've already moved the goalposts from they were lying about everything to Jonathan Shelley says, yes, they used an electrical cable on the kids. He didn't use it on his wife. So it went from we lied about everything to, well, they weren't lying about it being on them, but they are lying about it being used on their mom. And now they're moving to, well, my dad even said from the pulpit that even if everything we said is true, he's still qualified because he's a clown. And he's trashing on great guys like Pastor Salvador Alvarez, who I was just talking to, because the guy's has a young child. He only has a young kid, or he has 2 kids, but one of them is very young, and he's only been a pastor for 3 weeks. I might add, he has more church members than my dad did when he had 3 weeks. For the first year or so of his church, my dad often was preaching to just his wife and kids, quite often.
Really?
So yeah. His church started off tiny in his house, and the audacity to hate on another pastor and go, oh, well, this guy doesn't get to say that I can't beat my wife just because he hasn't been a pastor as long as me. I saw some other idiot, I forget who, was one of these other goons, was talking about Pastor McMurtry going, oh, well, wait till your kids. Pastor McMurtry has 2 adult sons, one of which is married, the other is engaged. If he was beating his kids and it's not like, oh, because they're acting like, oh, yeah, you just have to wait till they're older, because as if everybody's going to beat their teenagers senseless, right? As if like, oh, you'll get it when you're older. Like, I mean, I've been married longer than my dad was before he started beating my mom, so I'm already winning there because I made it through the first 3 weeks of marriage, so without beating my wife. So hey, how
big was your dad's congregation before the interviews with you and your 2 siblings came out, and has it gone down any?
I'm not sure. Last night, if I remember correctly, he hasn't broken attendance records in like 3 or 4 years. His church has not gotten the population in that church, or not, but attendance has stayed the same for like several years now. I know I've had dozens of his church members calling me horrified and stuff, as well as lots of his buddies, even ones who won't speak up against him, Pastor Jimenez. So he's got some of his buddies. I think the only guys he has that are like really standing by him are Jonathan Shelley and Bruce Mejia. Which Bruce Mejia, when I talked to him, he just claims we were just lying. We made everything up. I was like, why would I have a motive to lie, dude? He's like, I don't know, but you did. I was like, but I'm not, so whatever. And then Jonathan Shelley knows it's true and just doesn't care because he's a spineless wimp. He's got his buddy Ben the Butt Kisser on his podcast. I was trying to watch his stupid podcast last night, but Ben was too effeminate for me. He talks like a queer, so I couldn't handle it. I couldn't talk to him. I'd rather talk to Jordan than that. I'd rather listen to Jordan than Ben. Jordan's way straighter than Ben, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you've seen Ben. He calls himself Ben the Baptist. I didn't know he called himself that because when I went to FWBC, everybody I heard, they called him Ben the Butt Licker or Ben the Butt Kisser because he's a complete just butt kisser. But apparently he actually goes by Ben the Baptist. I just found this out, and I'd never heard him talk before, but that guy is so effeminate. It was cracking me up. I don't want to hear that guy's thing on what a man ought to be, that absolute wimp. So, and then he's got his spineless coward friend, Jonathan Shelley, who I think has disqualified himself now because, he's a spineless wimp supporting my dad. Anyone who still supports my dad is a spineless coward, or maybe like mentally handicapped or something, if they still think he's qualified or that he's innocent. But yeah.
And what would you guys gain from doing these interviews? Because I'm sure you're not getting rich off of it, and I'm pretty sure your siblings have lost significant others. Like, what would you guys gain from lying? And I even asked you, is your dad a total turd? And you said no, he's got good qualities.
Right.
So what would you gain?
So I might add, despite the videos we did with Jordan having hundreds of thousands of views, I think mine was at like 160,000 last I checked. Miriam's at almost 100,000. None of those videos are monetized. No one's making money on those.
Yeah. This one won't be.
No one's making money off those videos. Yeah. No one's making money off these videos, especially not me. I haven't made a penny from this. Right. Yeah, that's it. And I have nothing gained from this. Literally zero.
How many threats have you had, and have you been completely shunned from that community?
I've gotten a few threats. I have people messaging me, they're going to come kill me, this and that. I stopped getting them because every time I was getting the threats, I would like invite them. I would send them my address or something, but so far no one's showed up yet. I have security
Wise.
cameras. Arizona has a castle doctrine.
Yeah.
I have a lot of pre-ban firearms. So far, not one of these cowards has showed up to my house. I don't think that any of them will. They're just trolls. I think what it is they're obviously trying to scare me and get under my skin. If they realize that they can't actually get under my skin, they're going to pack up their little no profile picture anonymous account and go crawl back into their hole. Because obviously none of these people are actually willing to. If they actually wanted to hurt me, they wouldn't warn me that it was going to happen. They would,
Yeah.
just get me when I least expected it. Obviously, anyone who's giving you detailed stuff on how they're coming to kill you is probably not actually going to do it. So, yeah.
If your parents were, I mean, first of all, do you think that the treatment of your siblings who currently live at home, do you think that it's on the line of abuse enough to where the kids could be taken away? And if so, would they go to you or your older brother? I mean,
So
are you
I
guys
don't know
worried
about
about that?
I don't know about the legality on I'm not educated enough on the law to know how much you're allowed to beat your kids. I know that they don't do things the way that they did when I lived at home. From what I understand, they're just using belts, paddles, and hands. I don't know like what the laws are on smacking your kids upside the head. I don't know. I think in the state of Arizona, anything that leaves marks is considered illegal, but I'm not sure to be honest with you. I know it's toned down, but the mental abuse from my mom is still very bad, but I don't believe that's illegal.
Okay. Out of the two, because I've
Yes.
heard a lot about your dad, how bad your dad's punishing was, but in all honesty, I've heard some stuff about your mom too. Which one of your parents do you think was worse when it came to punishing?
So there's not a clear answer on that. So my dad had fewer angry outbursts than my mom, but his outbursts were far more destructive. My mom spent much more time angry though. So she was angry more often, but she was less physically destructive because she couldn't physically beat us as bad as a man can. My dad's not a very big man, but he's still a lot stronger than my mom. So at least, yeah, there was that. So my mom was also much more mentally abusive than my dad. So I guess it depends on how bad a person is affected by mental abuse versus physical abuse. And then my mom's was kind of the same more constant thing where my dad's was less thing. The thing about my dad too was my dad, it wasn't as unpredictable with him. Like if you were on a trip with him, he wouldn't just randomly start tweaking out usually. My mom, literally anything could set her off. My dad, you usually had to actually do something. Now, usually it was trivial things that would set him off, but it would be something that set him off at least. My mom was more unpredictable, constantly angry. So like the impression you'll get from John or Miriam is that my mom was worse. I mean, I just didn't care about her abuse as much, like her mental abuse. I didn't really care. Her opinions suck, so I just didn't listen. I can tune it out easier perhaps than they could.
Yeah.
It's also worth mentioning too that out of all the kids, I was probably my mom's favorite kid. So while I wasn't treated well, I was treated better than John or Miriam. I have some theories on why, but yeah. So she treated me better than she treated John or Miriam. She also hates Rebecca too, particularly. Rebecca's currently her new least favorite kid. As there's
Really?
no John or Miriam. Yeah.
Oh,
So, and
I
I
hate
think
that.
my theory on it is that my mom hates my dad, obviously. I don't look like my dad. I don't talk like my dad. I don't look like I'm even related to him. I look nothing like him. I have almost basically nothing in common with him besides maybe being a loudmouth. That's our only common trait is being loud. Um, so I think that didn't bother her as much. Whereas like John was kind of like a goofy kid, and my dad's a little goofy sometimes. So that reminded of Miriam looks like my dad's sister Lisa. She takes after his side. So I think the kids that reminded her of my dad, she didn't like as much. Whereas Solomon and I
Mm,
aren't really similar to him at all. So we're more serious. We're not goofy. We don't look like him. So we just got treated a little better because of that.
okay. Wow. And
Still not treated well at all, but yeah, better at least.
why do you think, I mean, you said your mom hates your dad and you said it pretty casually. Why do you think that?
Well, I don't know because he beats her and treats her like crap. What do you think?
I mean, I'm just wondering, like, if she did hate him, why doesn't she leave him? Is it because they're so engrossed in the,
Who's gonna pay for the kids or her? She
you think
hasn't
that's her
worked in like
fear?
20. She hasn't worked in 20 years. And I keep hearing people say, oh, she'll just go to Germany. My mom is not a German citizen. None of the kids that live at home are German citizens. My mom had to renounce her Hungarian and German citizenships to become an American citizen. So her first four oldest kids hold triple nationality. She does not.
Oh,
Her, and maybe Rebecca might have her German citizenship, but for sure not Anna or down. So so basically, at least eight of her, like 7 or 8 of her kids and her, only Americans. So no, she can't just go back to Germany. She'd literally have to get a work visa and a permit to be in Germany for more than a couple months. Now I can move to Germany, live there indefinitely. I'm a born German citizen. That can't be taken away from me. As is my son. It is funny though that her kids and grandkids are German and she's not anymore. But yeah, she had to renounce to become an American citizen.
Wow. So, okay, so she seems stuck. Do you think she resents your dad because of the amount of kids that you guys had and having to? I mean, that's stressful. It's stressful having
Oh, I'm
4
sure it
kids.
is.
Do you think that's part of why she resents him?
No, I don't know. I don't really care why, to be honest. They have a horrible marriage. They both are constantly at each other's throats. I don't really like care about diving deep into the why. It just is. They hate
Okay.
each other. Their marriage sucks. My dad currently is a literal basement dweller. They have like a 2-story house with a basement. He lives in the basement. My mom has her own bedroom on the second floor. He's down in the basement recording his schizophrenic rants about my Uncle Clint. Those weird schizo videos, that's him. That's literal basement dweller Pastor Anderson screaming at his camera about my brother stole my kids because his kids don't want to live with him. Like it's like no.
Wow. All right. So when you think of the NIFB movement, you automatically think Steven Anderson. What do you think all this means?
Of course.
What do you think all this means for the NIFB?
I think the NIFB is a stupid thing. I think it's retarded, and I'll explain why. I thought the entire point of being an independent Baptist is being independent. By saying old IFB, new IFB, they are literally creating a thing. These guys are in, these guys are out. They're literally creating their own denomination, and it's not independent. How is it independent? You know what I mean? Like, what's
Yeah,
independent
honestly.
about the new IFB? Because if they're literally going, and now there's going to be guys like Pastor Salvador Alvarez, Pastor Jason Robinson, I think Pastor Tommy McMurtry already left, but any pastors, probably Pastor Burzens too, is about to get booted. They're then going to get kicked from their movement, and guys that are still friends with them are not going to be on my dad's buddy list or whatever, anyone who still hangs out with them. So they're literally, there's nothing, they need to take the I out of it. It's just the new fundamentalist Baptist. There's no independent. They're not independent at all. Because they're literally going, oh, this pastor's an old IFB pastor. Oh, I go to a new IFB church, and my buddy goes to the old IFB church. Then they're not independent. Why can't you just be Baptist? I go to my Baptist church, you go to yours. But so yeah, I think their new IFB is stupid. So yeah.
Is there any pastor or
I'm sorry,
elder?
I'm getting a delivery. I got to get my door real quick. One
That's
second.
fine. Go right ahead. And for all of you guys out there who are just tuning in, go ahead and share this if you want to, and like and leave a comment. I guess I can check some of the comments that have been going on out in the audience. All right, we're looking good.
I'll be right back in 1 second. Sorry.
Hey, no problem, man. All right. And we'll be sure to put an edited copy up of this later.
All right, what's up?
All right. So is there any pastor or elder that your dad submits to or would take the advice of? Someone who, if they did say you should step down, he would listen?
Probably Pastor Jimenez. I think that's probably like the one guy, because my dad considers himself better than all the other pastors because he's been doing it longer. Pastor Jimenez, I think, started shortly after my dad. They're very close in age. They've both been doing it for a while. And Pastor Jimenez has a pretty big church too, because he finds it easy to mock guys like Pastor Robinson, Pastor McMurtry, Pastor Salvador Alvarez. So because he's a bully and goes, oh, my church is bigger than yours. So well, I guess Joel Osteen's a better pastor than you, right, buddy? Because he has a bigger church than you too, doesn't he? If we're just going off of raw numbers. Or just, I've been pastoring longer than you. Because he's going, Salvador who? Because he's just he's an idiot. So I'm guessing probably Pastor Jimenez, if he did the right thing and stood up and called it out. Because I know this. Do you think Pastor Jimenez thinks it's okay to beat your wife? He's not a dirtbag like Jonathan Shelley. He doesn't think it's okay to beat your wife. I know he doesn't. He just doesn't want to speak out against my dad because maybe he's worried my dad's going to make a meme about him. I don't know. If he's watching this, Pastor, I really hope you will do the right thing and, speak up, because I know he doesn't beat his wife or kids that way. And I know he never would. And I know he knows it's wrong. So why doesn't he speak up and say something? I wish he would. He needs to do the right thing and throw Jonah off that boat as fast as they can, lest their whole ship sink.
Well, and it seems like maybe a quarter to a third of your dad's airtime was throwing other pastors under the bus. He's not qualified for this. He's not qualified for that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before your dad's skeletons fell out of the closet. How does
Mm-hmm.
his sermons change now? It's going to be a little bit harder to disqualify everyone around you when you yourself look very disqualified.
I'm not sure, to be honest. He's not very consistent with his own standards. So, like, I guarantee, like, who knows? I think
Okay.
he's on borrowed time at this point. Like,
Do you think he knows
because
that?
probably because he looks more unhinged every time. He doesn't look like he's sleeping very well, does he? Every video I see of him, he looks worse. And now he's already deactivating, getting off social media and stuff because he probably can't take the heat or whatever. Someone probably commented. Because I know on his Facebook posts, they look like there's resounding support because he is blocking everybody. He's deleting comments and blocking. And for future reference, any of my Facebook posts, I don't delete any comments. You leave a hate comment, I will leave it up so everybody can see what a real piece of work you are. Like if you leave some disgusting hate comment, I'm gonna leave. My dad deletes all. So yeah, he has unanimous support. Yeah, because he deletes and blocks everybody who doesn't agree with him. And if you even ask him questions at his church, you'll get kicked out as well. He's thrown out me. He's thrown out Solomon because Solomon didn't back him on his brother needing to die or whatever. So yeah, he has unanimous support because if you don't agree with him, you get blocked and deleted instantly. So it's very
Yeah.
easy to project. He has unanimous support of everybody he didn't get rid of.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought. And now it seems like his circle is going to become smaller. So that probably means it's going to be like the ultra loyal of the loyalists. So I don't even know. Do you think
I think
anyone
they're called sycophants, or I prefer the word retard. It's a more common word.
So do you think there's anyone at the church left who could keep your dad hinged?
Probably not. He's surrounded by yes men. I almost feel sorry for my dad because he doesn't have any friends. All he has is yes men who are using him. Okay. He's got his goons like Corbin Russell, Chris Segura, Ramon Ventura, Raymond Cooper, Anselm. He's got a bunch of stupid goons who back him up implicitly. And Chris Segura knows what I'm saying is true because I told him this crap almost 3 years ago when I ran into him at a jiu-jitsu tournament. He knows this is some new story. I wasn't talking to a transvestite then, was I, Chris? I was talking to you, and he just made excuses. He knew it was all true. He didn't claim I was exaggerating or embellishing. He just goes, oh, well, my dad was worse. It's like, well, I didn't say your dad should be a pastor, buddy, did I? So no, he's got his stupid goons. He's got that fat retard Corbin Russell. Which Corbin Russell, here's what you know about him. If you've ever seen the back of his head is completely flat. So that's like a sign of stupidity usually if someone's head is completely flat. I'm not trying to sound like a phrenologist because I think that's pseudoscience.
Hey, that's all
But
right.
if that's what happens when you let your babies sleep on their backs too much, guys, it flattens their head out. And I know in Germany they say that's why Turkish people are so stupid because they all sleep on their backs as babies and it flattens their heads out and makes you stupid. But Corbin Russell, whatever part of that brain he has is missing, and that glutton yeah. Part of what it is too is let me go off on these guys. The reason why my dad is backed by goons like Raymond Cooper and Corbin Russell is both of those guys were miserably failing in the private sector working. I worked with Raymond Cooper. I was 15. He was, I think, either 21 or 22. Guess what we were doing? We were digging ditches for minimum wage. And the guy we were working for wouldn't even employ Raymond full time to dig ditches for him at minimum wage. These guys are not well qualified to work in the private sector. My dad actually made good money on his own. I remember Corbin Russell was borrowing money from my dad and stuff when he was earlier in the church. He had to borrow money from my dad. So these guys, my dad pays them more than they would earn working a regular job, basically. So if my dad's church collapsed somehow and Corbin Russell and Raymond had to get jobs, they would be losing a lot of money. Because if I remember correctly, they both were just like grunt workers. They were just like laborers. They were just blue collar grunts without any like particular skills that would, make them be able to support large families. I'm sure, I'm saying this because Corbin was on Jonathan Shelley's stupid live stream last night talking crap about me. So I'm glad you found my Reddit, Corbin. He's talking about, Isaac promotes steroids on Reddit. No, I don't promote steroids on Reddit, and you're morbidly obese. I don't want to take your health advice, you clown. He's over here. He should know that obesity shortens your lifespan on average by more than being a chain smoker. Literally being a chain smoker will have less effect on your life expectancy than being obese, Corbin. So no, I'm glad you're stalking me and you trawled my Reddit and found me on a steroid subreddit, you absolute buffoon.
All right, so your dad, I mean, whether you love him or hate him, a lot of Christians have been influenced by his teachings, some good, some bad. How do you go through now and cipher out what Steven Anderson doctrine was good biblical doctrine and what was just crazy Steven Anderson doctrine?
Read your Bible. Read the Bible. I read my Bible. I can tell you which of my dad's stuff is true and which isn't. It's the ones that he can back up from the Bible. And some of his teachings he can back from the Bible, others he can't. Obviously, like things like once saved, always saved, soul winning, stuff like that. That kind of stuff, yeah, he can back it up in the Bible. He's right about post-trib rapture and stuff, but you can back that all up biblically. Like if you can basically read your Bible and fact check it. When my dad goes, oh, beating your wife might not be that bad because the Bible's pretty quiet on it. Like, that's such a stupid thing to say because you know what the Bible also doesn't mention? Pedophilia. Are we going to say that the Bible? Well, the Bible's quiet on pedophilia. I personally wouldn't have sex with a 10-year-old, but hey, if you do it, the Bible is quiet on that, so I don't really want to weigh in, do I? I'm sure that's probably Jonathan Shelley's doctrine next week. With the way he thinks that if the Bible doesn't just explicitly say thou shalt not, that well, I don't really get to condemn it, even if I wouldn't do it myself.
On the other,
these guys are going to be Islam. They're going to be Islamists soon. At this rate, they're going to be Muslims with the way they're talking about beating women.
If your dad converted to Islam tomorrow, then all of those NIFB pastors who follow him would be Muslim a week from now. I agree with you.
Inshallah, Jonathan Shelley will revert very soon. Yes.
I don't think his doctrine holds water in a bucket.
No, that guy's a clown. Yeah. Well, he doesn't have any doctrine. He's literally just going, well, I don't want to weigh in. Like, retard, you did weigh in. Like, I'm tired of these guys saying that now they don't want to weigh in. Like, you waited. You called me and my brothers Absalom and Shimei, and you're calling us names, talking crap about us. And then suddenly, when it comes out that it's true, they go, well, I don't really want to weigh in. This isn't my place to talk about. It's not my church, not my problem. Which, of course, all that's doing is just letting everyone know Jonathan Shelley is a haven for wife beaters. Even pastors with no affiliation to my dad should go, hey, guess what? We might be new IFB or whatever, but no, wife beaters not welcome at my church. Take that to faithful word.
In any of these interviews you've done, is there anything that you regret have saying, or is there anything you wish you had said and didn't think of at the time?
I can't think of anything I regret saying. No, not really. I mean, everything I've said is true.
Yeah.
So, and obviously I'm aware that I come across as abrasive, and I'm sure somebody's going to be whining that it's wicked that I call Jonathan Shelley a spineless coward. No, what's more wicked is that Jonathan Shelley is a spineless coward. He's a pastor. He's not supposed to be a spineless wimp. And that's what he is. He's a wimp. And then I wish guys like Pastor Aaron Thompson and Pastor Jimenez, would do the right thing and speak up like they ought to. I know Pastor Berzins. Oh, by the way, on this too, I was talking to a guy. He got kicked out and from the FWBC listeners group because he just shared the sermon that Pastor Berzins preached, where he just said it's not okay to beat your wife. He just posted the link to the sermon, and he literally got banned from the FWBC listeners group. And mind you, Pastor Berzins has not been reprobated by my dad or anything yet. Not yet. He probably will be because he thinks it's not okay to beat your wife. But he literally just preached a sermon about why it's not okay to beat your wife, which is the bar is super low here. Like, he's really, really a controversial doctrine, right? Hey guys, don't beat your wives. Pretty basic stuff. He doesn't mention my dad. He doesn't condemn my dad in a sermon. He just says, hey, it's not okay to beat your wife. And you'll get banned from the FWBC listeners group if you share that link.
If the NIFB,
new IFB pastor preaching a sermon on this.
But if the NIFB collapses now, because your dad is their most powerful figure, where do they go? Where do you suggest NIFB people who were disenfranchised, where do you suggest they go?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, obviously, like, I wish I lived near some of the actual good pastors, like Pastor Robinson, Pastor McMurtry, Pastor Berzins, Pastor Alvarez. Those are churches I'd like to go to. I live in Arizona. We don't have any here, so I'm not sure.
Does this change your view on pastors? Your dad's been really looked up to around the world at times, especially in the Baptist movement, and knowing how he was behind closed doors. And, has that changed how you look at other pastors? Do you assume all of them are wife beaters behind closed doors now?
No, definitely not. I don't assume they're all wife beaters. Definitely not that. I mean, some of them I definitely have suspicions of, because, if someone's going to say it's not that bad, you know what I mean? If they're going to say it's not that bad, then I have my suspicions about you now, Jonathan Shelley. But
Well,
Yeah.
and your wife is part of your flesh. She's bone of your bone, flesh of your flesh. Who would harm
Sorry,
themselves?
my light died here. Well, once again, as I said, these dudes have been reading too much NIV. They're beating their body and making it their slave. It's literally they're just reading. That's NIV. I thought
Yeah.
that's why we're KJV only, so we don't come up with stupid doctrines like that about beating your body and making it your slave. That's what they're doing. They literally beat their wife and make it their slave. It's insane.
Yeah. And okay, your dad, that's another good point, because with the King James only movement, your dad's one of the biggest advocates there too. Does this affect
Of
any
course,
ground in that movement? Do people take
I
another
don't
look
know,
at
to be
that and
honest.
say, is it serious?
So I think my dad is right that the KJV is the best thing. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not one of those people who's going to say you're not saved if you read the NIV. I'm not that hardcore about it. Obviously, the NIV has verses that have been critically changed. There's verses missing altogether and stuff.
Mhm.
I also like the way the KJV reads and sounds. Maybe that's because what I've always read, but it has the most like gravitas of any of them. You know, it's good. It sounds right. It sounds better. I like the KJV. I think it's by far the best translation, and it's not even close. That's just my opinion on it. Well, I don't think it's an opinion. It is the best translation and stuff. But here's the thing: 90, probably over 90% of the NIV is still not different enough to be an issue. Now, obviously, there are a few key verses that have been removed and changed, so I would never read an NIV. But listen, if there's some guy reading a New King James Version or something, I'm not just going to rain hellfire. I'm glad he's reading any Bible, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather a guy reads the New King James than no Bible at all. Because most of the, say, the New King James or even the NIV, the ESV, most of it is still unchanged. And I'm sure his clowns are going to call me a heretic liberal now or something.
I was gonna
Because I said
ask,
that
have you ever said that around your dad and you lived to tell this tale? Like,
I don't remember, to be honest. Obviously, I don't read these other Bibles. I have a KJV. That's
yeah,
all I read.
yeah.
But let's be honest here, most of them, most of the other versions, most of it is
Mm,
still not different enough to be a significant thing,
yeah.
right? It's not significant enough to be a big deal. No, yeah, obviously, I wish they didn't take like the 20 verses out. And obviously, the verses like about beating your body and making it your slave, that literally supports what my dad teaches. Crap like that, I'm not a big fan of that. And I think that they're lower quality translations. They just don't sound as good.
Yeah. The King James is very poetic. It
Right.
sounds like what you would imagine God talks like.
It sounds grandiose and stuff. Yeah, it sounds more serious. It doesn't read like a comic book or something.
Yeah.
Or like a light. It's not light. It's supposed to be a heavy book.
I mean, I'm
So,
like you, man. I think the NIV is the non-inspired version, but if a new
of
believer
course.
is going to read the NIV and they're just eating it up, God bless you. Go for it, man. You read that
Right. And
NIV.
maybe if I knew a guy who would, I'd get a better one and maybe
Yeah.
explain to them why. But if they're screaming, oh, you can't even go to a church, but listen, maybe the best church in your area is an NIV church. Maybe. Maybe it's not ideal,
Yeah.
but maybe the best church you have, maybe the best church you have is an NIV church.
Yeah.
I might add, my dad lies about getting his post-trib doctrine. Let's go off on this. He claims he came up with it when he was 12. No, he didn't. He learned it at his new IFB church, not new IFB, sorry, at his NIV preaching church when he was 12, because his NIV Baptist pastor preached about the post-trib when he was 12, and that's where he learned it from.
I'll be
So
honest.
yeah,
I always thought he got the
so
post-trib
much
from
for
Kent Hovind.
yeah. No, he got it when he was 12 or 13 or so, going to an NIV preaching Baptist church. I'm
Wow.
sure he's going to lie about that, but that goes to prove my point that yeah, NIV is not a good translation, not a fan, but there is still some good. And my dad he learned the truth there, and that particular church preached better on the post-trib out of the NIV than most Baptists are preaching with the KJV. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, I would not read anything else besides the KJV unless I
Sure.
was maybe stuck on an island and all I had was the New King James. Yeah, I'd probably read that instead too. Um, but besides that, I would always read the KJV. That's all I read. That's all I do. Um, but they are a little too dogmatic about it. I remember my dad was so pissed because the Babylon Bee made an article about him. Pastor Anderson goes back to the KJV to help like understand context of the original Greek or something. And my dad was so pissed, but it's like, dude, it's a joke. It's satire. If they actually thought that, it wouldn't be on there. Like the very fact that it's on there means that that's not actually true.
And
But
that's
he was so mad
publicity.
about that. He cannot take a joke at all. Like he loves to dish it, but as soon as the Babylon Bee, like he was years later whining about the Babylon Bee making fun of him, which obviously it's hilarious. It's like, hey, Pastor Anderson goes back to the KJV or whatever when preaching in Greek. It was a joke, but he can't take a joke, unfortunately.
Yeah. It seems like he would kind of be the type that can't take a difference of opinion and doctrine either. Like, is that
Yep.
dangerous
Yep.
sharing a different doctrine in his church?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, it depends on the doctrine. Like, if you just disagree with him on something, he's probably not going to freak out, but he doesn't like, he has to be right about everything. So yeah, he does not tolerate disagreement well of like people who don't agree with him. He gets like really worked up about it. Like I remember, I think he said it was blasphemous because Solomon said King David is basically just like Andrew Tate, as they're both just degenerates or whatever. Because they was making fun of. And my dad's like, I was like, no, because we don't worship King David, dude. Like it's
Yeah.
obviously he was just a stupid, like, in terms of being just a wretched womanizer or whatever. So
Everything considered, Isaac, do you feel like you had a good childhood? I mean,
yeah,
I'm
I
sure there
mean,
were great times, but did you and your siblings have good times together?
I definitely had good times with my siblings, yes. So, and I don't, I don't want to go back to my childhood ever, not even for a day. So, not, it
Yeah.
wasn't good in that sense. Like my life is so much better now. Obviously, the way my life currently is, I mean, I have a house. I have a place to live. I own my car. I own my own motorcycle. Right. I have a good job. I have a wife. I have a healthy son. I'm healthy. Everything's going well for me in life. So obviously I'm better off than a lot of people who weren't abused, but I can only imagine how much better things would have been if had I had a proper upbringing. Because shortly after I was 18, like literally like matter a couple days after I was 18, I was living on my own. I had no car. I had a dirt bike and maybe a few $100s to my name. So, had I had a chance to, like maybe live at home with my parents till I could save up and just go straight to buying a house or something, not waste money paying rent and crap, go straight to buying a house. Things could have probably turned out a lot better for me if I'd had good parents.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
it
I would have
seems that way.
definitely had a lot more money than I do now because I wouldn't have to move out sooner. Because when you move out right at 18 with basically no money to your name, it's not great.
Yeah, it's a struggle
IKEA
to get on
was
your feet.
I was a yeah big IKEA customer, bought everything there. Still do. I love IKEA.
Hey man, you just have to assemble it yourself, but no big deal.
Yeah, I remember when I first moved out. The day I moved out, I had to assemble my IKEA bed. I was probably up till 3 or 4 in the morning building it because the problem was the mattress came from IKEA and it was like rolled up in like a roll and like the air had been vacuumed out, so it was really
Yeah,
small. So I
yeah.
couldn't. But the mattress, I was in a small room, so once I opened the mattress, it would take up the whole room. So I couldn't open the mattress till I built the whole bed. It was a queen size, so I probably spent like 5 hours building this bed. I was up till like 3 in the morning building this bed. And then I unrolled my mattress and just collapsed.
That's a good story, man.
It
That's
was fun,
good.
and yeah, it was pretty bad though, having to take a motorcycle to work and stuff because I didn't like it would be pretty. I moved out in like February, so it was very cold in the morning still. So the wind would be whipping, my fingers would be getting numb and stuff. It was yeah, it was interesting because it's hard to go to the grocery store and like buy milk when you're on a dirt bike
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's not a lot of cargo capacity. I've upgraded to a actual motorcycle now, but yeah, I
yeah.
regret
With the
selling that dirt bike though.
saddlebags,
That thing was fun.
hopefully. Yeah.
No, I don't have saddlebags. I have like a tank bag.
Mm.
But or I can also have a backpack now too. I don't use my motorcycle now for hauling stuff though. I use it for just for fun, really. Because if my wife has the car, so I can go to the gym or do something. Because we had two cars, but some idiot totaled my car back in February of this year. So
Mm.
down to just my wife's car. Because
Oh,
shortly after moving out, probably a month or two after moving out, I just walked into the Hyundai dealer and just bought a 2021 Elantra. I was just financed one, so it was a really, really nice car up until some idiot, some 16-year-old who I got her license like 3 months earlier, just drove out of a parking lot going like 40 miles an hour and just T-boned my wife and just destroyed the car, broke the seatbelt, set off all the airbags.
oh
My wife was
man.
pregnant then too. Not really ideal to be honest, but yeah.
No, thank
Because
God it
of
turned out
course the
okay.
insurance company, well, yeah, the insurance company pays you for the car, and they basically like they paid me, and it paid off what I owed plus like a couple grand extra. And in hindsight, I was like, I should have leased this thing. 'Cause if I leased it, I would have like I think I did the math, and had I leased it after for 3 years when it happened, after 3 years, I would have had no car, just like I do now. But I would have paid like 6 grand less in things, yeah, because the cars depreciate, and it's like, well, but if you keep it long enough, yeah, but then some idiot will just total it. So yeah,
True.
but I do own our other car just outright. But if I ever get another car, I'm probably going to lease one because yeah, they depreciate, and you never know when some random fool will just destroy it.
Man. Hey, how many of your siblings are out of the house and how many still live at home?
4 are out, 8 still at home. Miriam is currently a fugitive. My dad keeps putting out his stupid threats. Anybody helping Miriam will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He's retarded. He doesn't know what the law is. Aiding and abetting a runaway child is only illegal if the child was not in danger. Research that, clown. You can look this up. Not you, obviously. My dad called him a clown. You can research this. Aiding a fugitive is only illegal if the fugitive wasn't in danger. So if Miriam has a great home life, no danger whatsoever, and then she wants to run away and I'm helping her, I am breaking the law. If she is in danger, it is completely legal to help her. So yeah. No, you're not
Well,
going to get her GoFundMe shut down, retard.
and to me, that's the saddest part because, she is still technically a minor. I know she's 17, but it looks like your
Yep.
dad's going out of his way to ruin her relationships and try to take away any security she has.
He's failing. He's failing. Don't worry.
That's
He's
but
failed
that's his daughter. Like, how could he do that? That's my
because he's a
question.
horrible person. The good news is God's has been against him every step of the way. My dad just cannot stop stepping on rakes on this with this situation. Basically, every step of the way, things have gone as horribly for him as possible, and like things just keep getting better for Miriam. He's trying to make sure she's isolated, alone. All she's getting is getting more support than ever. Had he not made his stupid video about Clint Anderson stole my daughter, Miriam wouldn't have a GoFundMe that's already pushing $11,000 for her as soon as she turns 18. And my dad
That
can't stop that because it will be given to her on her 18th birthday. He can't touch that money and he can't get the GoFundMe shut down. So great job. I hope he makes more schizo basement videos because he makes, oh, Clint Anderson, he's in his basement screaming about Clint Anderson stole my daughter or whatever. Well, guess what? I might add too. I was talking to my Uncle Clint. That guy's been getting quite a lot of support. He's had a few of my dad's retard trolls going after him, but he's also been getting a huge outpouring of supportive messages as well. So once again, my dad just cannot stop stepping on rakes. I don't think he's as popular as he thinks he is. And currently Miriam's GoFundMe is at like $11,000. It's been up for less than a week.
Amen,
So
man.
yeah.
That's awesome. And I encourage
I was
everybody to
shocked
go.
and I was really happy to see how many people were willing to support her, obviously. I mean, anything helps, guys. Some people are like, oh, messing like, hey, I can only put $20 in, but it's like, dude, that's
Just
great. Put
20
$5
bucks.
in.
She's
Yeah,
going to be
put
18
something in.
soon, and having
I
something
mean,
to
hey,
start off on, that'll be
you can
huge.
buy, yeah, and you can buy an In-N-Out burger for $3.45. Even a couple bucks is, I mean, that's a meal, a good
Yeah.
one too.
Yep. Well, and
So yeah, no,
11,000, that's already enough for like first and last and a down payment on a car. So like, but
exactly.
keep it rolling in and give her a
Yep,
comfortable start.
exactly. That's IKEA furniture, some clothes, first and last month's rent, couple months rent, so she can get a job, obviously, because currently she can't get a job because she's sort of in hiding. But she'll be able to get a job, pay a few months rent, and obviously, I mean, hey, if you're maybe consider if you go to my dad's church or Jonathan Shelley's church, instead of giving your tithe money to people who abuse women or condone abuse of women and children, maybe consider doing something good with your money instead of giving it to men who won't stand up to abuse. Consider that maybe, you know,
Hey, and being,
because I feel like God would appreciate that better, giving the money to the victim rather than the abuser, right? I would assume.
well, yeah. So that's a biblical principle right there for you.
Exactly.
Well, there's a ton of people, man, who are still on the fence and, they have been following your dad for years and they're trying to make
Yep.
heads or tails about this. They're praying about it. What's your advice for them?
Listen, I understand it's hard to believe this stuff about my dad. Some of you guys have known him for many years. Like I talked to Pastor Burzens. He's known my dad since 2006, obviously. And I understand that people close to them didn't know what was happening. And it's hard to believe. It's hard to understand. It's hard to comprehend because my dad, I mean, I would say from his public persona, it's not that hard to believe that the guy saying you can force your wife to have sex, you might also hit his wife. But maybe some people just thought he didn't, he'll force her to have sex, but he would never hit her, right? Never. I don't know. But I understand that this comes as quite a shocking revelation to a lot of people. It's unbelievable. It's hard to believe. And yeah, maybe when John's video came out, they're more focused on the fact that John's got a nose ring and long hair than what John's actually saying. But the fact of the matter is, what we're saying is true. And they can't, they need to stop. How are they going to discredit my brother Solomon? What did he do that they can discredit him for? For me, they bring up the fact that I joked about beating women and forcing them to have sex when I was 17. My dad did both of those things. So I don't know why they're more hung up on the fact that I joked about it. And probably a shrink would say that I joke about it because I observed my dad doing it. And that's why I joke about it as a coping mechanism. I don't know. But, Because it's so, oh, where does Isaac get off? What's making him joke about abuse towards women? How could he, who comes up with this? But then they also refuse to accept that maybe my dad actually did those things. And that's part of why, obviously, I'm not making excuses for myself because I'm not even
Yeah.
sorry I joked about beating women. I still joke about beating women because it's a joke. I don't know why people are more hung up about joking about it than actually doing it. So,
So for you, that's not about, just the haha of telling in a domestic violence joke. It's the fact of like preserving freedom of speech and spitting on political correctness. Is that more or less right?
I don't know, maybe. I
Okay.
just joke about it because it's funny.
Okay. All right. Hey, you know what? Different strokes for different folks. Personally, I hate political correctness.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, there's no fun in it because jokes by nature have to be controversial. They have to be. That's why stereotyping jokes and jokes about women, jokes about disabled people, jokes about other races, these are the most popular genres of jokes because you have to be making fun of something. You have to be making fun of something. And if you're making fun of something, well, that thing might be offended by by you making fun of it and stuff. So obviously they sound a little bad. And obviously when you print out our jokes on a piece of paper and go, look what he's saying about women here, it obviously looks really
Obviously.
bad. It's
Everything
out of
on paper looks
context though.
worse. Yeah. Everything on
Of
paper
course.
looks worse.
Obviously, yeah, obviously print it out. Like if you print out some of the things, or they went through my Twitter and they found every facetious troll thing I'm doing where I'm like, I hope you go to I'm telling people like, oh, you belong in a concentration camp. And they're like, this is Isaac Anderson. He believes that this guy belongs in a concentration camp because he's Indian or something. Like, oh no, I don't. I was just trolling him. I mean, I'm sure they will. I also had some other guy who goes, Isaac, are you on drugs? I said, yes, I am a walking pharmacy. And he's like, I'm going to screenshot that. I was like, okay, dude, whatever. Like, I don't like, yeah. Obviously, you can cherry pick every time I've
That
trolled people or said, or just been a little over the top. I'm not actually like that, obviously.
Well, that was passed around, but what also was passed around is from your guys' interviews, I guess there were allegations about how you guys were punished. And apparently, your mom had been keeping a blog for many years. So people went
Mhm.
through the blog and started collecting, in her own
Oh,
words,
she's
validating.
sanitizing that blog. Yep,
Well,
she's
it's too
deleting
late
stuff right and
now.
left.
I mean, people have got pictures with you guys having bruises on your legs. Like,
Yep.
it's pretty damning.
Oh, I know. So my parents were really stupid, I think. I think that they thought that they would I think they thought none of their kids would speak out. So yeah, they don't mind posting pictures of their kids with black eyes, bruises, all kinds of other. They're honestly, I really wish they were smarter. And you can also see too on their kids. Um, Most of my siblings did this. I'm like probably one of the only ones that didn't. Picking themselves, picking their faces till they bleed, picking their hands till they bleed. And you can see that in the pictures on the blog, or you see my siblings in real life. Like my little brothers, they have these like things on their faces, and they'll just pick themselves till they bleed, which I looked into. That's usually a sign of abuse. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously. So
A
their kids
nervous
pick
tick.
themselves till yeah, it's a weird tick and stuff. And which I think my parents attempted to beat nervous ticks out of us, which usually only makes the nervous tick worse. Like I remember John had this thing where he like twitch sometimes, and every time he would do it, my mom would just hit him upside the head. She'd go, "Oh, what, you think I'm gonna slap you? I'm gonna slap you," and then she'd slap him upside the head. If he like, because my mom would be like gesturing with her arm, and John would flinch or something because he thought she was gonna hit him. So then she would get mad and hit him instead,
Yeah.
which
That's
only made
definitely
it
not
worse,
helpful.
obviously. Yeah,
That
exactly. Like, oh, you thought I was gonna hit you? Oh, God, well, I better do it then.
how is it
I
they
think she
can
claimed
be
John was doing it for attention or something.
how is it they can be like these pillars of the Christian community and someone that people look up to on how to govern a family and then behind closed doors just be total disasters?
Honestly, I don't know. All I know is what I've personally seen and observed, and then I've seen how they act outside of it. I don't know how they can switch it that easily and never like let it slip in front of their church people, really. It's honestly impressive. All I know is, and of course, I mean, we have four witnesses, and my dad, I think in his newest schizophrenic sermon, was talking about, oh, I've got witnesses too. No, you don't. You don't have witnesses because you don't have witnesses because they didn't live with you. Like, oh, he's got witnesses. Some guy who came to his house and said they didn't beat their kids when I was there. That's great. That's not a witness. Like I went shooting this morning with a guy. Okay, that guy's a witness that from the hours between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. I didn't murder anybody today. He didn't see me after that. He can't be a witness that I didn't. So no, all the people who are witnesses for my dad, no, they're only witnesses for when they were there. They
Yeah.
didn't live with him. I lived with him. And obviously, it's just pissing me off seeing he has witnesses that say it didn't happen when I literally physically received, observed, like it absolutely happened. And they keep trying to claim our stories don't add up. You're an idiot if you think that. You can watch their hours of videos, or you can check with the people that I've told about this years ago, like Alex Avgulas, Chris Segura, other people
What are
from the
they
church.
saying doesn't add up?
They don't say. So here's what they're claiming why we don't add up. Because we have different outlooks. John thinks my parents belong in prison. Solomon doesn't think they belong in prison, basically. They're like, oh, that doesn't add up. No, what's not being disputed is the events of what happened. Now, yes, maybe we all drew our own conclusions from what happened, but no one is disputing what happened. Or they'll ask Solomon if he remembers something happened. He goes, well, I don't remember that particular thing happening. It's like, well, maybe he wasn't home that day.
Yeah.
Right?
Or blocked it out.
Well, yeah. So, but what's not up for debate is that my dad beat his kids and my mom with the cord. Yeah. Often, hard. And it's extremely painful and extremely damaging. Right? And that he would open the cabinets, hurl dishes, that he would smash chairs, smash things in general, smash kids' toys as punishments, threaten to kill our pets if we didn't act up. I'm sorry, if we acted up.
Do you think your dad has a lot of hate in his heart?
What do you think? Have you seen him? Have you talked? He talks a lot more about everything he hates, rather. He talks all day about what he hates. He never talks about what he loves. The only thing he loves is to hate.
Well,
he loves to hate.
That's kind of my predicament, because from all the stuff of your dad I've ever watched, I've always thought he had a lot of hate in his heart. But then you said earlier you do believe that he's saved, he's born again. But the Bible's pretty clear about if you have hate in your heart, it's awfully hard to be saved, if not impossible.
I'm going to say this, man. I'm saved, and I've got plenty of hate in my heart, too. I hate all kinds of stuff.
You look happy, though, Isaac. I don't think you look as hate-filled as your dad does. You seem friendly.
Well, no, yeah. But the thing is, there are plenty of things that I hate. I just don't dwell on it, I guess. I dwell on the positives.
Okay.
I don't sit around seething in hate, but I have plenty of things that I hate. Because, I mean, if you love something, you have to hate the others. For example, if you love kids, you hate pedophiles, obviously.
Okay.
Because if you don't hate anything, you don't really love anything either. You don't just get to love everybody. You can't say, oh, I love everybody. Well, no, what about the horrible people? You can't love them and still love their victims.
Well, you have to hate sin to love righteousness. Yeah.
Exactly. So I have plenty of hatred in my heart, but not towards anything undeserving and stuff, obviously. And I don't dwell on it or talk about it all day because it's negative. It's negative. Now, there is a time and a place to be angry and hateful, but it's not all the time.
Well, and yours seems like it may be more of like a righteous anger.
I'd like to think that I'm only righteously angry. Yeah, but I think everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, no. Okay, like, I'll be honest. I know there's a lot of times I'm righteously angry, and there's sometimes Steven's just a jerk. Like, I'll own up to that. Sometimes I'm a jerk. You don't think that's for your dad?
I'd be lying if I said I haven't been a jerk either. I mean, I am sometimes. I mean, a lot of people online claim I'm a complete arrogant prick or whatever. If you read what they say about me online, I'm like the least nice guy ever, according to them. But oh well.
I've talked with you for an hour. You seem legit to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you can even ask my brothers, ask John or Solomon if they've ever seen me fly off the handle and get angry at anybody for any reason. Obviously, I've been angry. I've been angry many times, but I never start yelling or cussing or losing it when I get mad. I talk loudly because I'm like hearing impaired. I'm about half deaf, but I'm not talking loudly because I'm angry. I just talk loudly because it's hard unless I like consciously try to talk quieter. I just talk really loudly because I'm half deaf. But I'm not an angry person in that sense. Like, I don't yell or scream when I get mad. If I get mad, I just deal with it, because yelling and screaming, no one takes you seriously when you're yelling and carrying on about something the way my dad does. It's hard to take somebody seriously when they're acting like an angry child. That's what little toddlers do. They start screaming. That's what my baby does when something makes him unhappy. He just starts screaming until we stop. That's not how adults and grown men are supposed to behave.
All right. Well, and it's arguable that no one knows the NIFB more than you and your siblings, because your dad, again, like, if anyone says there's someone more known in the NIFB movement more than your dad, they're lying. So, you knowing the NIFB, is there anything your dad could do at this point to be restored, to come out of this unscathed?
I don't know. I mean, because the problem is he has probably at least a couple hundred church members left who don't care if he beats his wife publicly from the pulpit. They would still say, well, it's his house and he's the man of the house. So he has enough of those people. So at this point, short of either my dad just maybe realizing that he needs to stop, or maybe if he ends up, because he keeps bragging about the charges against him have been dismissed. No charges have been brought to him because CPS doesn't make it past his front door. CPS has never interviewed me or my siblings. He's a liar. I was actually just at his house for his most recent visit. They brought in your typical CPS agent, ugly fat woman. She's talking to my mom sitting on the couch that's 2 feet from the front door. There for maybe, I don't know, not that long. Hey, do you beat your kids? No, we don't beat our kids. And yeah, none of their kids have black eyes or bleeding or something. So then the CPS just packs up their little red wagon and goes home. So no, he has not been ever thoroughly investigated and stuff. So he's lying about that. He's, oh, law enforcement cleared him. So stupid, because I have committed many crimes of which I was reported for. The cops never even showed up at my house, let alone investigated me, let alone filed charges and found me guilty in court. I mean, OJ also wasn't guilty, right?
Yeah. Well, CPS is broken anyways. I have seen
they're toothless.
Well, I've seen kids taken from good families. And then I've seen
I don't buy that.
But I have. But I've also seen kids left in terrible families where they should have been saved.
Because I've read the articles online. All they did was homeschool their kids and CPS took all of them. And I'm thinking, like, dude, if my parents didn't get their kids taken, if your kids got taken by CPS, you have to be so guilty, because CPS has literally no rights. They literally come to your door. Can we talk to your kids? No. Okay. And they just leave. That's it. And it's super, super hard for them to get a warrant to actually do anything. And even then, they have to actually prove it and stuff. Prove the kid didn't get hurt on accident. Prove this. It's super hard. So, like, people who actually get their kids taken by CPS, I'd be very surprised if they didn't deserve it. Or maybe they're just really stupid and just somehow managed to get, say the wrong thing and get their kid taken. Because based on the fact that my parents, because whether or not what you think what my parents did is right or wrong, what they did is extremely illegal and it's a felony. Like, they'd have literally hundreds, even thousands of felony charges if there was like a 24/7 security footage inside the house showing everything, they would be just thousands of counts of child abuse. So yeah, they are guilty of that. Now maybe they shouldn't go to prison for that. That's an argument I don't really care to have. That's a separate issue. But they are guilty. And just saying, oh, CPS, we didn't let them talk to us and they couldn't get a warrant, that doesn't make you not guilty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, most people break the law constantly and they don't get in trouble for it. You have to be very guilty to get in trouble.
Closing thoughts. Is there anything that you would want to say to people, something we haven't gone over yet tonight, something that you think would be important, or just food for thought, people to chew on?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I really should do notes before I do these interviews, man. Like, I literally was like sitting on my couch and he messaged, I was like, oh, dude, I'll hop on now. My last interview I did, I think I woke up like 20 minutes before I did it. I just literally just roll off. I just get up and do them and just start talking. I really should do notes for these. I'm trying to think. I know I already know as soon as I get off, I'm going to remember that there was something I should have brought up and forgot about. But.
Well, I'll tell you this. I know you've probably been hit up by huge YouTube channels. I only have like 1,500 subscribers.
No one's talking to me. I mean, I have a few other like Christian channels. I think some of like the larger, I don't want to say more liberal channels, but more main channels, they don't want to give me much airtime because of my, they probably think I'm a repugnant human being. Like, I remember even Jordan got a ton of hate for platforming me.
Well, to be honest, I'm at NASB using Baptist-Costal. So in the NAIFB, I'm already the guy.
What's NASB?
NASB, New American Standard Bible. So
I thought you were KJV.
No. My wife is KJV, and I love the KJV, but I'm an NASB guy. So in the NIFB community, I'm already the guy they hate. So I don't mind having you on. Right. I don't mind having you on, man. And if you do want to come back and go over more, I would love to have you.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I can't wait for my interview to get discredited now because I talked to a guy who didn't read the KJV.
I should have kept that until the end. I'm so sorry, man.
You should. No. Yeah, you shouldn't have said that on camera. Now this is ruined. You got to edit that part now.
Man, if it helps, I've never spoken tongues, so a win-win. All right.
I really want to go to one of those those tent revivals where we're all speaking in tongues. I need to do that sometime.
I'm too afraid they'll pass around the snakes, and I'm not about that life.
I've seen those videos where they get bit by the snakes and stuff. Those are the funniest ones. I love those. Where they get bit by the snake and they go to like the hospital and stuff because they're like playing with like a cotton mouth.
Yeah.
Which like I don't understand, because even if like they're literally doing like when Satan was trying to tempt Jesus to like jump down off the thing. They're literally doing that. They're
Yeah.
just tempting God. Like that's
Right.
not how that works. Like even if like no, they think they're Paul or whatever, they're not.
Well, and if you Google it, their congregations have been getting smaller and smaller, and that's because their congregants keep getting bit more and more.
I was about to say it's because people die.
They're just dying off, man. Eventually, they'll all be gone by natural causes.
I mean, I feel bad about them dying, but like anybody stupid enough to allow himself to get bit by a snake is probably, I don't feel that sorry for them, unfortunately. Maybe
I
I should, but
mean,
I don't. I'm
you
short on
know,
sympathy for them.
and Kent Hovind, he's a good friend of mine. He just recently picked up a rattlesnake and got bit, but he thought it was a grass snake. Like, it's a little different picking up a poisonous snake and it's venomous.
Yeah, so the problem with that is you don't really want to play with any snakes, because getting bit by any snake is really bad because they usually have dirty teeth. Like if you get bit by a boa or a python, you're probably still going to get some gross infection from it,
Oh,
because
the
you're going to get it's going to
bacteria.
put yeah, they have really dirty teeth, and it's going to be like a puncture wound, what, an inch or two under your skin. Like you can still get a bad, and like even if you get bit by like a harmless snake, you probably still need antibiotics usually, or you're going to get some kind of infection. I don't want to play with snakes at all. I play with a few that are like domesticated. They're
Yeah.
fun, but I'm not picking up snakes in the wild. I think I played with
No.
a king snake I found before in the wild, but I wouldn't do that now because you don't want to get bit.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
well, man, I'm going to wrap this up. And again, you have me on Messenger. And if you ever want
yeah,
to, we
yep,
do shows like 6 nights a week. If you ever want to drop by and hang out, come by, subscribe to us so you know how to find us. And if you ever
yeah,
want to
man. I
do
wish
another
people would do
interview,
interviews talk about positive stuff with me. No one wants to talk about positive stuff. I want to talk about good stuff.
dude, if you want to come back on sometime this week or next week, I would love to do just positive stuff. I'd actually
Maybe.
like to find out like what's going on in your personal life. Like what's
Oh,
that look
dude.
like for you? How have you conquered?
Motorcycles, scuba diving, guns, jujitsu, homemade explosives. Basically, I'm pretty fun stuff, actually. Yeah,
Dude, why don't you come back and we'll talk about that stuff?
maybe. Yeah, maybe so.
All right.
Sometime.
All right, man.
All right,
Well,
hey,
I
man. Hey,
appreciate
have
you
a good one.
coming, and this was a good interview. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. It's been fun. All right, man. I'm gonna go get some dinner now. Talk to you later.
All right. God bless, brother.